Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I am your host, Matthew Miller. This is the 40 Acres Show. Obviously, not a post game show because there's no games yet, but we're going to jump right in. And please, before I start getting into the video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Really helps out the channel. Go follow the man below, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Subscribe to his channels, like his videos, like his content. It really helps out the channels. Again, go up to the list, go over to channels, scroll down, subscribe to all the other channels on there. No matter if they're not, even if they're not Texas football, it still supports Mark and what he does, this empire he's building with college football. Please do it. Okay, so jumping into Arch Manning. So Arch Manning is coming to Texas in the middle of June, and this is important not only for the fact that he's coming. Again, he's been here multiple times, but this will be an official visit. He's coming on June 17th through June 19th, and this is Texas's. And this visit will be the last of three visits. He's going to go to Georgia, Alabama, then Texas. I think it's really down to two schools at this point, especially with Eli Holstein, former Texas A&M commit, coming from or committing to A&M, then decommitting, and then showing up at Alabama. I think there's a really good chance that Arch Manning is going to go to Georgia or Texas. I think that's been the case for a year, to be honest with you. It would have been surprising to see him go anywhere else. I personally believe at this point he's leaning Georgia. I believe that because the Manning family's smart. They're going to look at this as a business decision. I think Texas will be able to get him more NIL money, but they see this as more of a long-term investment and not short-term investment. So I see them saying, "Hey, you know what, Arch? Texas went 7-5 this year. Georgia, after winning a national championship, let's say they go 10-2, and the money's equal. You'll be on a better team surrounded by better talent, which means your NFL draft stock will be even higher there. Why don't we go there and see what happens?" So I think there's a really good chance he does go to Georgia. But I think if Texas can go on a 8-4, 9-3, or having 8-4, 9-3 type year, I do believe there's a really good chance Texas lands him. I believe this is where he wants to go. I believe he has a very good relationship with Steve Sarkisian. I think that's very important. You see that with the Mannings a lot. I mean, look at it. David Cutcliffe at Tennessee with Peyton Manning. They liked him so much. And Eli Manning obviously has ties to Ole Miss, but once David Cutcliffe went there, decided, you know what, let's go to Ole Miss. So it would not shock me if he comes to Texas, but right now I think Georgia's a little bit of the favorite. I do believe if Texas, like I said, goes 8-4, 9-3, I think there's a chance he does end up here with him obviously with him having a gigantic or at least a good relationship with Steve Sarkisian. Next up, we have some transfer news. Diamonte Tucker Dorsey. He is a linebacker out of James Madison University. He's a little bit small. He's like 5'10, 5'11, 214 pounds. He's not that big, but this is a position Texas desperately needs. You know, the depth there is not great. Basically, you have David Gabenda, DeMarvin Overshawn, Jalen Ford. Then after that, it's very, very. You have someone like Devin Richards, new transfer from New Mexico State, probably won't play much. Derek Brown probably won't play much. Even I don't think he'll even play linebacker when he's here. I think he'll but most likely be an edge player. This guy started all 14 games last year at James Madison, who, by the way, is a powerhouse at the FCS level. Very good. He had 116 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. The guy's a very good player. Now, again, undersized. And last year, that would have worried me a little bit, but it really doesn't this year because this is someone that fits right into this defense with Gary Patterson at the helm, or at least running it partially with Pete Kwiatkowski. I fully expect him to play all over. It would not shock me if you have him out there in some type of if we had a package, I forget what it was called, where we had 7 basically defensive backs or 7 smaller guys on the field at one time under Todd Orlando. But a package like that, I think this guy can make an impact at some level on the Texas defense. Hopefully it's a big one, but even if it's not, if he adds some depth, that'd be nice. He's got 2 years left, so that's nice as well. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. I think he obviously very good player at that level. If he can come and be an average Big 12 defender, that's a net positive. We need that. We don't have many average Big 12 defenders on our team, or even average college football defenders in general. So we'll see what happens here. It'd be nice to get him. I don't know if we will, but again, it'd be really nice to get him, and he would add a lot of depth Next up, a news broke, I believe either today or yesterday, that the Alabama game would be an 11 a.m. kick. That's basically finalized now. It's not changing. This is one of the biggest reasons Texas is leaving the Big 12. You see us and Oklahoma complain about this all the time. Why are we playing 11 a.m. kicks? It's not even 11 a.m. for them. It's 10 a.m. for them. So it's like, why are we playing this early in the morning, especially a primetime game, guys? This is going against Alabama, in my opinion, the team that's going to win the national championship next year, the best team in college football, and we're playing them at 11 a.m. That makes no sense. You would think if there was a czar of college football or a commissioner like there should be, he would have a say in this. Unfortunately, college football does not have one. They desperately need one. They desperately need leadership at this point, and that is lacking tremendously. We've seen that with the NIL stuff hitting off. We've seen that now with stuff like this, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I believe if problems like this are solved, Texas and Oklahoma may consider staying, but there's no chance. Obviously, that's way past the line now. And I think that's the next biggest thing with college football be for it to get better or at least stay the same of what it was a couple years ago. You have to have a czar. You have to have someone in charge. You have to have someone come in and say, no, this stuff can't be happening, or at least set the schedule. I think someone who's a commissioner should probably set the schedule. They should have a say in the NIL stuff, like tampering periods and stuff like that, like open periods where guys can transfer and other periods where guys can't. The problem is we don't have that right now, and we desperately need that. And the NCAA did come out and try to set some boundaries and guideline rules, but guess what? It's kind of too late. It's one of those things where the NCAA is always reactionary; they're never proactive, and that's my biggest issue with the NCAA. My biggest issue is they never like the rules are never equal across the board. They always let the bigger programs get away with stuff and pick on the smaller programs. And then stuff like this, like they knew this NIL stuff was coming for years, guys, and they did nothing about it. Then it finally got to Congress, became law basically. That took like 6 months to 8 months. You had that time, guys. It shouldn't be that hard. You guys get paid for this, and it doesn't make any sense to me because they should want to do it for the simple fact that NIL basically has rendered them useless. Like I don't even think people really care about the NCAA anymore. Really, their big job now is setting the March Madness tournament, and that's about it. If that ever goes away from them, they're literally never going to be used again. They're going to be pointless. I think that's why you see Mark Emmert stepping down in the next couple of years because he's not needed. He's useless. There's no point to him, and he's making so much money. It's ridiculous. So it doesn't really make much sense to me. This is part of the reason they're leaving, and something needs to change in broad scope of college football. Uh, when it comes to Texas, obviously, it's going to be an interesting season. Like I said, we have our first 3 game set. We play Louisiana Monroe, Alabama, and then I believe UTSA. UTSA coming off a pretty good season under Jeff Traylor, got a contract extension with them. It'll be interesting. I think we'll beat them, but I think it'll be a good game. Obviously, Alabama is going to be insanely difficult. In my opinion, the 2 best players in college football play for Alabama, and Bryce Young and Will Anderson being the best. It would not shock me if Will Anderson won the Heisman. He finished 5th last year. Should have finished higher. I think he was a better overall player than Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's the best defensive player in college football since Ndamukong Suh, Tyrann Mathieu, your choice there. So that makes him one of the 3 best guys in the past 15 years of college football, basically. And I don't know how Texas is going to block him. It's going to be interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of chips. I think you're going to see a lot of running away from him. I think you're going to see a lot of bootlegs, a lot of motion. You're going to have to do something. It wouldn't shock me on plays if you see him double team by the tight end and left tackle or wherever he lines up, right tackle, and then someone comes in motion and hits him to get him off his start as well or his jump as well. Would not shock me. The guy's so dominant. He's insane. And Bryce Young is the best quarterback in college football. People can talk CJ Stroud all they want. I would take Bryce Young. I think if you put Bryce Young on Ohio State, they get better. And I think if you put CJ Stroud on Alabama, they get worse. I like Bryce Young personally, but I guess that's a choice, and we'll see this year. I think those are the 2 best guys heading into the NFL draft for next year. And then we have a guy like that on our team, Quinn Ewers. We'll see what happens with him if he reaches his potential this year of that top recruit in the history of college football rankings. Then this team, can be the best offense of college football. This team can probably win 10 or 11 games. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect him to hit the ground running. I expect him to have issues just like every freshman does. Look at CJ Stroud's first 4 or 5 games last year. The schedule was soft though, and the talent around them is just much better than Quinn Ewers' talent at Texas right now. And not much. I will say that Steve Sarkisian has done a fantastic job of having a nice cupboard, a nice amount of toys for Quinn Ewers to play with. You have Jaleel Billingsley, obviously, Jatavian Sanders, um, Ajay Hall, Isaiah Nair, Xavier Worthy. I think the best running back room in the country with Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, and Jonathan Brooks, and then Jaden Blue, the freshman, will probably play a little bit, but not too much. I think that's the best running back room in the country. So he's got a lot of toys to play with, but Ohio State is still Ohio State. That's probably the best wide receiving room in the country, one of the best offensive lines in the country, and Travion Henderson is probably one of the top 3 to 4 running backs in the country. I think Bijan's the best. If you argued me that Travion was second best, I wouldn't argue with that. I think Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota is up there as well. I think those are probably your top 3 running backs in college football, especially if he's healthy, obviously. So it will be interesting to see what we can do on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, I think we'll be at least a top 10 to 12 unit there. The question is going to be defense. Last year was historically bad. I think we were 100th in points per game allowed, which is freaking terrible. It's going to come down to, can this defense jump 15 to 30 spots, in my opinion. I think closer to 30, 25 to 30 spots for us to compete for the Big 12 championship. And I think it's a lot to ask. I don't know if that's possible this year. I think if we jump 15 spots, even just get a little bit better, drop 1 to 2 points per game off of our total, 1 to 1.5, then I think there's a real possibility that we win not 8 to 9 games. I think when you talk about Big 12 championship, I've heard people talk about that. I personally don't believe that's this year. I think that's next year. I believe you're going to have to be somewhere in the top 70 on defense. And I just don't see that happening. I don't see the talent there. I don't know who's going to jump off the screen and um, protects on the defensive side of the ball, especially to rush the passer. That's been a big miss. We really haven't had a great pass rusher. Joseph Asai was very good. I wouldn't consider him great. I think the last great pass rusher we had was Brian Arakpo or Sergio Kindle. It's been over a decade, guys. So we have issues on that side of the ball getting to the quarterback. And we're going to have someone step up, whether that be someone young like Justice Finkley or someone older like Alfred Collins, who, I mean, you had a couple years ago, you had Chris Ash, who I liked as defense coordinator and respected him. He's respected. He was coaching in the NFL. I'm not sure if he's still coaching in the NFL now that Urban Meyer has been fired from the Jacksonville Jaguars. But he said Alfred Collins is right up there talent-wise with the Bosa brothers and Chase Young. So if you're saying that, you have to pop off the screen. Those guys instantly, when they arrived and they were there, and they've been fantastic in the NFL as well. So Alfred Collins is going to have to show out this year. There's no more excuses for him. He's going to have to get to the quarterback no matter what position he's playing. Myself included, made a lot of excuses for him that he was moving around, playing all over the place, and he was. But the thing is, to be a great defensive player, you have to be willing to do that. You see Aaron Donald will occasionally line up on the outside as well as the inside, and guess what? He still dominates the game. So no matter where you line up, if you're that type of talent, like a Bosa or a Chase Young or a Aaron Donald, you have to line up and beat the man across from you. And so far, Alfred Collins just hasn't been able to do that. He's been a good player, but he hasn't taken that next step to become a great player. And then on the inside, I think Keandre Coburn is going to have a bounce back year. He's been inconsistent throughout his career. I think we've always looked to him as being like this dominant force on the interior, and he really hasn't been. He's just And he's going to have to take that next step. We've talked about him as an NFL player possibly in the future. If he continues to play like he did from last year, he will not be an NFL player. He has to get better. He has not been good enough. Devondre Sweat was better than him last year, and Devondre Sweat may be better than him this year. We're going to have to be better on that side of the ball, and Keandre Coburn is a big part of that. Alfred Collins is a big part of that. Devondre Sweat is a big part of that. I think our defensive line is the one unit that's going to have to step up a lot, because I do think the secondary is going to be decent. I think the linebacker core, if we stay healthy, is going to be pretty good. I don't know about the defensive line. I think it's going to be good versus rushing, the rushing attack, but I don't know about versus the passing. I don't know if they have if they're able to get there or with multiple people or with just 4 people. That's another thing too. If you have to blitz constantly, you leave the guys on the back end vulnerable. And I don't think our back end is good enough to hold up to that. I don't think our back end is good enough to cover 4 to 5 seconds at a time. So I think it's an average back end. It's good enough if you have a good defensive line, and we'll see if they're able to step up or not. Guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. It helps out this channel a lot. I'm going to be here every Thursday, either with an 8 p.m. live show or a 9 p.m. live show. Obviously, there's not that many people in here right now, so could you please share it out? Please like the video. We want more people in here. I want you guys to come in here just like at the post-game show, drive the conversation. I can only talk for so long, especially in the dog days of summer for college football. So if you guys could please share this out, please like it, please subscribe down to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, as you see scrolling down below, and subscribe to this channel as well. And like I said, I'll be here every Thursday, either 8 or 9 o'clock. Share it out with your friends. If you want me to change the time, I'm willing to do that too. I think the earliest I could ever do it is 7. The latest I'd ever want to do it is 11. So please let me know in the comments as well. When you hit that like button, just scroll down, leave a comment if you want me to change the time. I'm here for you guys. I want to make this channel grow. I want to make this some of the best Texas college football content on YouTube. So please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.